Immediate past president. He served in my role only 3 months ago, and I did not realize how hard it was. When he had it, he made it look a lot easier than it feels. So, he also has achieved his competent communicator and is currently working on his advanced communicator and is finishing up his competent leadership tracks right now. Our Toastmaster this evening. A lot of movement.
The suspense is killing me.
The suspense is killing me. You want to know who this person is.
Who is this Toastmaster?
Our Toastmaster this evening is Maurice Heidelberg.
Okay, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I will review the agenda for tonight. Our grammarian for tonight will be Heather.
As grammarian, it's my job to keep track of filler words such as and ah, and also to keep track of use of the word today, which is equinox, meaning the time when the sun crosses the plane of the Earth's equator.
I always have a lot.
Okay.
can do that.
And also, did you describe?
Yes.
Okay, you did. Okay. Okay. The timer for tonight will be Ren.
As a timer, I lift up a green, and you know you have how many seconds?
Minimum time.
Well, the speech for tonight is 4 or 5 and 6 minutes.
Yep. And then for the table topics, you'll have 1 minute, 1 minute 30, or your time will be up in 2 minutes, correct?
Yes.
And then the speech evaluations will be 2 minutes minimum, 2:30, and then the max is 3 minutes.
Okay. The general evaluator for tonight is Thomas. I don't see it marked out.
As the general evaluator, I will evaluate how the meeting goes as a whole, how the speeches were overall, not necessarily a specific aspect of the speech. I'll also be evaluating the other people on the evaluation team and how well they did in their roles.
And Mickey, you do realize that you're an evaluator, right?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, without further ado, we will go into our first speech. Our speaker for tonight has been a member of Toastmasters for a certain period of time, and she is redoing her icebreaker for this club. Our speaker for tonight is Christine.
Excuse my baby. All right, so the name of my speech is Here I Are. It's just a little intro speech about who I am, a little bit about myself. So my name is Christine Elaine Penn-Yori. I was born in Athens, Georgia, July 3rd, 1984. And I was born into my childhood was made up of magic. I was born into a very imaginative family. I used to dance barefoot on my grandfather's lawn when I was a little girl, and I would step on these little acorn shells. And I would pick them up and choose and pretend they're little bowls or hats for my fairies or goldfish or whatever I would imagine. My sisters and I would always play in the woods, and I was the one that would see unicorns dashing off in the distance. I would always see gnomes in the burrows and hidden in the trees. And every time I would see mushroom circles, I would think of fairies dancing in the middle of them. In high school, we moved to Greenville, South Carolina, and my parents bought this enchanting house. The house was made up of 3 levels. It had fireplaces in every room, dumbwaiters, laundry chutes. It was an older house that had been restored, and it was just really incredible, enchanting to me. We had a big garden in the backyard that had plum trees and blackberry bushes, Concord grapes, anything you can imagine. We just had a little small garden with a little bit of every plant. And we inherited beehives. And I really took to liking the beehives when I was in high school. So the previous owners, they gave me all the equipment for the beehives, everything I needed, and I took myself to the meetings, and now I'm a beekeeper. Still am. So, excuse me. Okay, after high school, I moved to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I went to college there, and I bought my first house at 21 years old. And this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. I've always wanted a house, and even in high school, I would collect china and things to put in my house. So this was a big thing for me. I wanted everyone to stand in awe and just look at my house when they walked in, which they did, because there was a lot of things that I would like to hide. And I want you to go to my house 5 times and still see something new. And it is still like that today. Not that house, but I have a new house. I wanted to take them to a place where spells would break by the right kiss. That's how I wanted them to feel when they came into my house. My backyard, I love gardening, and I had my beehives, so I always wanted to create a magical oasis in my backyard. I had a little fish pond of goldfish, and I would always imagine the fairies skinny dipping in the pond in the summer nights. I always had fairy lights, twinkle lights outside. It was always very beautiful and a magical oasis that I really enjoyed. And I always had a water feature, some kind of water fountain. A few years later, I met my husband, John Yori, at a full moon party on the beach. It was a little bonfire we had out there. I remember seeing him, and he was all tan and he wore all white. Sorry, I'm a little postpartum as well, so he might see me cry. So I saw his big smile the moment I stepped foot into the sand. I went up to him and I introduced myself. And a month later, he went to Costa Rica for a few months. I encouraged that, and we talked and sent love emails the whole time. We Skyped, and it was beautiful. And the last week that he was there, I flew out to see him. And every night we would see a whole tropical and enchanting forest in Costa Rica, and it was beautiful. And I loved every minute of it. They had monkeys, like we do have squirrels. There were monkeys everywhere. They did not have paved roads. They had cold showers. We had no towels because he never told me to bring towels. Every night we would move to a new place, either a hostel or a hotel or a bungalow or something. And every night I would unpack my silk scarves that my grandmother had, and I'd drape them over the lights. And I'd have our umbrellas, I would hang them upside down in the ceiling, just for ambiance and for fun. I would always have incense and candles and music on our phones. And I would just make it a really nice evening every night at every room that we stayed in. I married John a few years later after Costa Rica, after I met him. It didn't take long, we knew kind of right away. But he made me have a wedding. I wanted to elope. But I'm glad we had a nice wedding. I married John and we had 2 boys together so far. And my boys are beautiful, the sweetest boys. And I want to show my boys the world of fantasy that I grew up in. I want to show them the details in life that I see. See that little stirring straw in the cup of tea? It could be a fighting sword. I want to show them all the imaginative things that I grew up having. And maybe one day, my boys might start a speech out saying, I'm born into an imaginative family. Thank you.
Thank you there, Christine. Our second speaker for tonight has been a Toastmaster, as he says, since the last century. And he has achieved his competent communicator, his advanced communicator bronze, and more recently his advanced communicator silver. And then on the leadership side, his competent leadership and his advanced leadership bronze. Are you on your way to advanced leadership silver?
DTM.
Oh, in DTM, okay. So our second speaker for tonight is Lawrence Crompton.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, I'm really grateful to be here because I get the opportunity to do what I call pocket speeches. And that's where I haven't really completely prepared a speech, but I know what I want to speak about. And so then I can kind of fill in when nobody shows up. It's kind of like a, I guess now, 5 to 7 minute tabletop. This evening, I'm going to talk about creation. Not just the creation, but the creation of me. The creation of you. What are you doing right now? You're thinking. That's what you're doing right now. You're thinking, what is he going to be talking about? But not only that, when you are thinking, what you are actually doing is making physical changes in your brain. Now, let's hope we're not thinking too much about the Costa Rican monkeys because, we don't want to have the monkey mind, right? But when you think, you make changes in your brain. So, we need to control what we think. What we think about. What goals we want to have. How are we going to achieve those things? Now, one of the important things, if you have something you really want to think about, is allow yourself to be truly free with intense emotions. When you want to change something, emotion can be the basic fuel of motivation. If you really can create that desire, that love, that emotion for anything, then what's going to stop you from getting it? So you change your mind by thinking. So, everybody likes to improve. Is there anybody in here who thinks that they're absolutely perfect and there is nothing that we have to do to make change? I didn't think so. So, we all want to have change. How do we create change? First, we think about it. Select a desirable new behavior or a desirable new thought pattern. Think about it. Create emotion about it. Feel the passion for it. And then something might change. Something in your brain is going to change. Now, interestingly, if many of you may be Christians, if you remember in the very beginning of the Bible, it says, the first thing there was a thought. And then God created the universe. So everything has to start with a thought. So you create a desired new pattern in your life, a desired new behavior. Now, what do? Relate that positive new behavior to some strong emotion. Preferably a enjoyable, a desirable emotion. Because negative emotions do have a lot of power, but sometimes they have the wrong kind of power. If you relate something to a negative, then you might think of it as negative, and then you're less likely to want to create it. So try to bring things into a positive emotional state. I want to change my behavior. I want to become a more giving, a more loving person. And by doing that, I'm going to be able to create lasting relationships. I'm going to feel so much better in my life. I'm going to be such a stronger, more healthy person. I'm going to be great. What kind of emotion can you create to make that work? Then, reward yourself with generous praise. That's one of the things that we are least likely to do in our lives. We always learn, oh, don't be proud, don't be building yourself up. But you have to do that. I succeeded in finding a new friend today. God, that's great. I'm so happy. I'm such a good person. People like to be my friend. Build yourself up. Then make a point to repeat this as often as possible. Now, does that seem too simple? It probably does. But the reality is, life is simple. We are the ones that complicate it. So, what are we doing now? We're thinking. We're actually creating physical changes in the brain, rewiring neural pathways that drive our thoughts and action. Every decision you make, every decision, is not a decision about what to do. It's a decision about who you are. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, dear Lawrence. At this time, we'll move on to our table topics. And our table topics master for tonight will be Justin. Great to see all these new faces out here, a lot of visitors. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been by, and it's great to see all these new faces here. So for the visitors or people who are new to Toastmasters, a table topic is an impromptu 1 to 2 minute speech on a topic that I'll give out immediately before the speech. So let's have a volunteer. Anybody up for a table topic? Or I'll call on someone. All right. So if you were forced to eliminate every physical possession from your life with the exception of what could fit into a single backpack, what would you put in that backpack?
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I volunteered first so I could set the bar low. I have lots to take from here. So the question posed to me was, if you had a suitcase and you could only pack and fill that suitcase with belongings from your entire life, what would you pack in? The first thought that came to my mind was photographs. I typically have a poor memory, be it people's names, times in the past, experiences, and I like to capture those with videos, photographs. It helps remind me of experiences I've had, relationships I've made, good times in my life, and those are always, the emotion invoking to review old photographs and videos. So I think that's what I'll have to put in my suitcase, because I want to remember friends, family, experiences, and I have to force myself to do this, but influential people in my life have told me that, it's not about things, it's about experiences, it's about your interactions, it's about relationships. So that's what I would fill in that suitcase to help remind me of the important things in life.
Thank you. Okay, another volunteer? Or perhaps Heather would like to do one?
Yes, I would love to do.
Great. Heather, how do you define success?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I define success as, firstly, hard work, I guess. There's a lot of things that make up success. There's willpower, there's effort, there's attitude. And speaking on that, those are two things that we can all control, attitude and effort. And I think through those things, any of us can really accomplish whatever it is we're seeking to do and have success. I think success is often looked at as something that is kind of hard to obtain, or maybe for some of us, for some people, they get in this idea that somehow they are held back, that they don't have advantages that other people have. But I'm the kind of person that really doesn't believe that. I believe that if you really want to do something and if you work hard, that you can do it, and that is success. That's something that I try to do every day, being productive, getting my work done, doing things that I want to do, doing things that I know I need to do, but maybe I don't want to do. But that's still success. It's just pushing yourself and having the right attitude and effort. Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, another volunteer? Ewing? Ewing, if you could go back in time and tell a younger version of yourself one thing, what would you tell? If you could go back in time and tell a younger version of yourself one thing, what would you tell yourself?
Don't make that guy in high school.
You mean go back time? Do something? Tell someone.
Tell yourself.
Tell myself.
Yes, tell yourself something.
16 years ago, I came to the United States from China. And if I can back to the 16 years ago, I will tell me, take the examination for the doctor certification, because I think that's what I really want to do. Because in China, I'm a pediatrician, and but I changed to do the lab work. And so far, every day I repeat the same work. So I feel so bored, right? So I think I should take the examination and get the certification. I can do the physician again, and I can every day I say different face and different patient. Not every day I do the same thing, repeat. So that's what I want to tell. Thank you.
All right, and we get to a lot of new people, so I'm less tempted to just throw someone under the bus here. Any volunteers?
I'll go if somebody can time.
Yeah, I think we can work that out. So how do you spend the majority of your free time?
6 or 7 years ago, I was a totally different person. I would never have stood in this position and spoken in front of you. And I think that was all a matter of perspective. To me, life was about maybe get rich quick schemes, or not what it is today. And today it is about continuing my education and being the best person that I can be. I do that through reading. I've submerged myself in a lot of the classics such as Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, timeless classics, words of wisdom, that if you open your mind and are ready to learn what they have to teach, can completely change you as a person. It can change your perspective. It can change your life. So I spend my time reading, my free time reading. I also have a 3-year-old daughter. And I believe that anybody can be a parent, but it takes a very dedicated person to be a teacher, to be a father figure, to be a role model. So that is something that I really strive to be, as a role model. Anybody can get off work and go home and cut on the TV and let the kids play on the floor with Legos, but can you truly be engaged with that? Those minds are so young, so malleable, so moldable. I feel like it's extremely important to bestow upon her the knowledge that I've learned and to teach her to love learning, so maybe she doesn't have such a long road to travel like I did those first 25, 27 years. So that's what I spend my time doing, trying to learn and better educate myself to be the best person I can be.
Okay, I think we have time for 1 or 2 others. Any volunteers? All right. Visitor. So, and what's your name again, sir? AJ. AJ, what's your earliest childhood memories?
Just a small introduction about me first, because I feel like that anytime you have the attention of an audience, it's best to let that person, let the audience know who you are. I'm AJ Crenshaw. I'm the co-founder of Project Azalea, which is an online magazine here in the Gulf Coast. I'm 24 years old. I graduated from Blount High School, went off to school in Jackson, Mississippi, attended Belhaven University. But back to the question at hand, what's my first childhood memory? I think my first childhood memory, the one that immediately pops in my head, is the times that I spent with my father and my mother and my older sisters. We used to always go on the weekends to the flea market, and attending the flea market was great because you know you was always coming home with something, you know, whether it be a new toy, a new VHS, a new video, whatever it may be. But my biggest memory of going to the flea market was being able to purchase one of those corns, those corn on the cob, the salt and stuff that we shouldn't be eating. That was my biggest memory, and I love getting those corns. And you know, we'll sit in the parking lot until everybody's finished their corn, so my father could get out the car and go throw it away. I think that's the first childhood memory that just randomly popped in my head. So yeah.
Thanks, AJ. I think we have time for 1 more. How would you spend your ideal day?
This is actually a great question for me right now. Thank you, Toastmaster, and fellow honored guests. This is a great question for me right now because actually right at this current time, this month of September that we're in, I am actually doing exactly that. I'm off the whole month from work, so I get to spend every day with my wife, my new baby, and my 2-year-old son. So I'm going to do exactly what I'm doing right now, which is basically gardening. I'm putting flower beds in front of the house. I'm building a little brick wall. I'm hauling trash every 2 weeks in front of the house and spraying off the big trash. And that's what I really like to do. I like to cook, and I like to do yard work around the house. So I'm kind of a dork, but you know, that's what makes me happy, so that's what I'll do. I really enjoy spending time with my family, so obviously this month is perfect for me. I work usually pretty long-hour days, so to me, to be able to enjoy a whole month alone with them is really, really important. I don't really do any kind of work at all this month. I'm just, the phone's off, you know, everything's, you know, just us and the babies. It's been really good. We've learned a lot about how to handle a 2-year-old with a newborn in the house. It's tough, to say the least. We've read a lot, we've talked a lot, we've tried this, tried that. We've tried timeout, we've tried other things. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. And, you know, we are happy just learning what does and what doesn't work, because that's what helps us become a better family. And, you know, just being a dad is one of the greatest things I've ever felt in my life. I really never felt the purpose of what we're doing here until I had my first son, and now even more so with my second son. So, thank you very much for everybody's attention and your time, and I'll turn it back over to Toastmasters.
Okay, well, that concludes the table topics portion of our meeting, so I'll hand the lectern back over to our Toastmaster. Thank you. Thank you to Justin, and thank you to all those who participate in table topics. At this time, we'll go into our evaluation.
Vice President of Education will volunteer people for various different positions if they are not filled. But it's so much easier if you look at your program and you say, oh, I want to be Toastmaster this week, because then I can move forward in my competent leadership program. So those are some of the more simple things. There are other things we can do in there, other things that we can track in there. But those are the simple things that I really would appreciate if everyone would try to do. Go into there and create your own positions. Mr. President, do you have anything else you want to put in about that? Okay, Mr. Toastmaster, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I will relinquish the lectern back to the president.
So we have no awards tonight. Last week we gave out a membership joining International Toastmasters to Ren. We are waiting on pins, like Ren got, in order to award all of the rest for all of the rest of you who have joined since. We currently are out of pins, so once we have them in,
Just one.
once we have them in, we will have you receive your induction, I guess would be the correct word.
I missed the beginning of the meeting, but I would move that we buy some more pins.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Get that, Justin?
Got it.
So now we'll go on to our VP of Education, where she will review our agenda for the next meeting. Our VP of Education is Yu Ying. She will do that from her chair. She doesn't actually have to go to the lectern.
Speak.
Yeah, ask her for speeches and stuff. That's where we're at.
Speak.
I really need to do a speech, so sign me up for.
Okay. Justin. Another one?
I'll do the icebreaker.
Some-
Lane,
Oh, anyone?
P-L-O-R-E.
No.
Right there, okay,
Justin, this
And we
thing
need
says you're
a
on CC.
we need a Toastmaster. Who wants to be a Toastmaster?
I was supposed to be Toastmaster this week, so I'll be Toastmaster next week. I'm sorry I was a little bit late because something came up that I got later than I expected.
No. Table topic?
I'll do that.
Oh.
I got some good topics.
All right.
What's your name? Sorry.
Ren, R-H-E-N.
R-H-E-N. Timer?
Yannick.
No easy names here.
Say it.
Y-A-N-N-I-C-K.
Y-A-M-M-I-C-K,
I-C-K.
okay. And the grammar.
Grand Marnier.
Oh, John, I know you. Oh,
I have to get you one.
okay, grammar. I think that's, evaluate, general evaluator, and the evaluator for the speaker.
I can do one of them. I don't care.
Okay, good.
And I'll take one else.
Okay, good.
We want to put Nikki as the general evaluator since she's done speech evaluation a couple times now.
Me?
Nikki
Nikki? Oh,
as the
Nikki,
general
okay.
evaluator.
General evaluator for Nikki.
Study.
I can serve as the second evaluator. Does anybody want to do the educational overview? The thing that I just literally got signed up for 5 minutes ago.
Well, there you go.
We should need one more.
Yeah, I'll be a
What's the
speech
speaker?
evaluator, so you can do
Huh?
that, so you can educate.
Okay. So David will be the second evaluator.
Speaking. Oh, okay, good. Name. What's it?
David.
Oh, yeah, David.
Okay. John,
Okay.
and then switch to next week.
So, yeah.
Fixed. That's everything, isn't it?
There you go.
Anybody want to be the reserve speaker? Were you like totally prepared for next week? Reserve speaker means that if somebody doesn't show up in time for their speech, you get one.
Oh.
Ooh.
And what, how many, what's it time?
It's going to be whatever speech you decide to give.
Okay.
So if you're giving the next one and you're a confident communicator, it's going to be the 5 to 7. If you want to re-give an icebreaker because you don't feel
Yeah,
like you
because
did a
I
great
didn't have
job,
the book.
because you don't feel like you did a great job, then you can redo the icebreaker as your as we call them pocket speeches, but as the reserve speaker, someone doesn't show
Absolutely,
up.
got it.
We have a full agenda for next week, and it's
Awesome, good.
still Monday night.
Yes,
That is
yes.
awesome. This is the first time it's happened in
Long
up
time.
on a year.
Long time.
So unless there is other business, final reminder of on October 2nd, we will be beginning our meeting at 6:30 because we are hosting the speech competition. I only bring that up because it's a different time than normal. So, if nothing else, our meeting is adjourned.